AITA for refusing to host my sister's wedding after she completely disregarded my feelings and plans. So, this is a long story, and I'm still really upset about how everything unfolded. I'm 32F, and my sister, 28F, recently got engaged. She's been dreaming about her wedding for years, and when she finally got engaged, I was genuinely happy for her. However, the drama started when she asked if she could have the wedding at my house. A bit of background. I bought a house about 3 years ago. It's a decent-sized place with a nice backyard, and I've worked hard to make it my home. It's in a quiet neighborhood, and I love the space and peace it offers. Since buying it, I've hosted a few small get-togethers, but nothing huge because I like my space to be a calm retreat. When my sister got engaged, she immediately started talking about the wedding. She said she wanted something outdoors and intimate, but also with space for everyone to dance and party afterward. She mentioned my backyard as the perfect spot, saying it was beautiful and just right for the vibe she wanted. I was initially flattered that she thought of me and my home. However, things started to get complicated when she began to talk specifics. The guest list quickly ballooned from 50 people to 120. She said she wanted to invite not just family and close friends, but also her coworkers, some of their plus ones, and a few distant acquaintances she reconnected with on social media. I tried to explain that my yard really couldn't comfortably fit that many people and that parking in the neighborhood was limited. She brushed it off and said we could rent tents and arrange for valet parking or shuttles. I agreed to discuss it further, but I had conditions. I wanted to be involved in planning the event since it would be on my property, and I wanted to ensure neighbors wouldn't be disturbed and that everything would be cleaned up promptly. She said she appreciated that and promised to coordinate with me on all details. The problem started when she began making decisions without consulting me. She hired a DJ who was loud and known for late-night parties. She arranged for a large caterer that required multiple trucks to deliver food and equipment. She even started ordering decorations and setting up in the days before the wedding without telling me, effectively invading my space. I asked her to pause so we could talk, but she said I was stressing too much and that she had everything under control. As the date got closer, I realized the neighbors were getting upset because there were strangers parked in front of their houses, and the noise was louder than what I had anticipated. I also found out that she had invited even more people, around 150 total. This was well beyond what I had agreed to, and I felt completely disrespected. 2 days before the wedding, I sat her down and told her I couldn't allow the wedding to happen at my house under these circumstances. I said that the scale was way too big, that she had ignored my requests and boundaries, and that it was unfair to impose this chaos on me and the neighbors. She blew up at me, saying I was ruining her dream wedding and that I was being selfish. I stood my ground, and she ended up moving the wedding to a local park and renting a venue there. That was probably for the best, but the fallout has been brutal. She hasn't spoken to me since. My parents are upset, saying I should have just been more accommodating because it was her special day. Some mutual friends say I was being unreasonable. I feel like I did the right thing by standing up for my boundaries in my home, but I also feel sad and guilty that I caused such a rift. AITA for refusing to host my sister's wedding when she completely disregarded my feelings and turned it into something I couldn't support. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her dog to my wedding even though it caused a huge family rift. This all started when my 29F sister, Emily, 31F, insisted that her dog, a large golden retriever named Max, absolutely had to be part of my wedding. I'm engaged to my fiancé, Jason, 32M, and we've been planning a small, elegant wedding for about a year now. We decided on a venue that's a historic mansion with beautiful gardens and indoor space, which we booked almost a year ago. We wanted something classy, adult-focused, and honestly, without any distractions. Emily and Max have always been inseparable. She got Max about 5 years ago after a rough breakup and really leaned on him as emotional support. I get that. Max is a sweet dog, very friendly, but big and energetic. Emily's always treated him like a kid, dressing him up, taking tons of pictures, and telling us all stories about him. He's basically family to her. When I sent out the save the dates, I didn't include any mention of pets, and none of the vendors or venue allowed animals besides service dogs. Emily was the first to bring it up. She wanted Max to be there. She said it was important to her and that Max was part of the family. So, excluding him felt like excluding her. She even suggested we do the photos outside with Max, or maybe have him as the ring bearer. I thought it was a cute idea, but immediately thought about logistics and the venue's policy. I explained to her gently that the venue doesn't allow pets inside except for certified service animals. Since Max is not a service dog, that meant he couldn't be inside during the ceremony or reception. I also worried about how Max would behave around so many people, the noise, kids, other dogs possibly. It could stress him out or cause chaos. I offered alternatives, like maybe a small photo shoot with Max outside on a different day or before the guest arrived. Emily got really upset. She said she felt hurt and that I was prioritizing the look of the wedding over family. She said Max is her emotional support and that not having him there would ruin the experience for her. I tried to be understanding, but stood firm. Jason supported me because he agreed it wasn't practical or fair to risk problems at the venue or make other guests uncomfortable. We both felt like the day should be focused on us, and that it was unreasonable to expect a big, energetic dog to behave perfectly in such a formal setting. Emily then said she would bring Max anyway. She threatened to walk down the aisle with him, dog in tow, no matter what we said. I told her that if she did that, I would ask the venue security to remove her and Max immediately, and I would not continue the wedding. That was a hard line, but I felt it was necessary to keep the day under control. As the date drew nearer, tension rose. Emily stopped responding to calls and texts. At the rehearsal dinner, she showed up with Max hidden in her car and didn't say a word about him. On the wedding day, I was on edge, but hopeful she'd respect our wishes. During the ceremony, just as I was about to say my vows, we heard barking from the side door. Max burst in, dragged by Emily, who was holding his leash. The guests were shocked. The officiant stopped. Emily marched down the aisle with Max, insisting he be part of the ceremony. Jason and I were stunned. I told the coordinator to call security, who politely but firmly escorted Emily and Max out. Emily was furious and yelled that I was a controlling sister who didn't care about her feelings or Max. She refused to come back, and I was heartbroken. The rest of the ceremony went on quietly, but the mood was heavy. Afterward, my parents and a few family members confronted me, saying I was too harsh and should have compromised more for Emily. Emily cut off contact with me and hasn't spoken since. I feel terrible that my sister and I are at war over this, but I also felt that allowing Max would have disrupted our day and broken venue rules. I planned the wedding with Jason, and we had to make tough decisions. Was I wrong to refuse Emily's dog at the wedding, even when it caused a huge family fallout? AITA for refusing to invite my sister to my wedding after she deliberately sabotaged my engagement party? So here goes. 29F, have been with my fiancé, Mark 31M, for about 5 years. We're pretty much inseparable, and we finally got engaged last year. We're planning a wedding for next summer, and everything seemed great until my sister, Emma, 27F, decided to ruin things. A bit of background. Emma and I have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, she was the golden child in our family, always the favored one by our parents, the star at school, and so on. Meanwhile, I was more of the quiet one, a bit introverted, focusing on my studies and work. That dynamic created a lot of tension between us over the years. She's always been competitive, whether it was grades, relationships, or attention from our family. Mark and I met in college, and I thought Emma would be happy for me. But from the start, she seemed dismissive or indifferent whenever I brought him up. At first, I didn't think much of it, but as our relationship grew serious, I noticed she was actively trying to undermine it. For example, she once told my parents that Mark wasn't good enough for me because he didn't have a high-paying job, even though he's an amazing partner and treats me well. Fast forward to the engagement. Mark proposed at a little beach spot that was special to us, and I was over the moon. We decided to throw an engagement party with close family and friends to celebrate. I sent out invitations a month in advance. I assumed Emma would be happy, or at least civil, but I was wrong. The party was at a nice venue with about 40 people. We had food, drinks, music, pretty standard stuff. Everything was going well until Emma showed up late, clearly already annoyed. I tried to greet her and include her in conversations, but she barely responded. Around the midpoint of the party, things took a turn. I was mingling near the bar when I noticed that the champagne bottle we had reserved for toasts was missing. I asked the bartender, who said he hadn't been able to find it since Emma arrived. That was suspicious, but I thought maybe it got misplaced. Then, a few minutes later, someone pointed out that the dessert table had been knocked over. Cake and pastries were all over the floor, and the caterer was scrambling to clean up the mess. I looked around and saw Emma standing a bit away, smirking. When I confronted her, she said it wasn't her. I was stunned but tried to brush it off, thinking maybe she was just in a bad mood. However, a couple of guests pulled me aside later and told me they overheard Emma making rude comments about Mark and me, saying things like, "This is just another one of her failed relationships, and he's not going to put up with her for long." The worst part came near the end of the party. Mark was about to give a toast when the microphone cut out completely. The sound guy ran to fix it, but couldn't figure out why it stopped working. Later, someone found a mixed battery pack was removed, and guess who was the last person near the sound equipment? Emma. At that point, I was devastated. It wasn't just bad behavior. It was intentional sabotage. I confronted Emma the next day, and she denied everything but finally admitted she didn't think Mark was good enough and didn't want to see me ruined by marrying him. Since then, I have not invited her to any wedding planning events or the ceremony itself. Our parents are split on this. Mom thinks I'm being harsh. Dad is on my side. Mark supports me completely and said he'd be upset if Emma showed up uninvited. Emma has been sending passive-aggressive texts, saying I'm overreacting and that I'm throwing away family. I don't want a wedding where I feel like I have to watch my back or worry about who might sabotage another event. So, Reddit, AITA for not inviting my sister to my wedding after what she did at the engagement party? Should I try to reconcile? Or is this the hill I should stand on?